Hello, Nadia.
Hi, Lilu. How are you?
Good to have you in Chicago.
I'm happy to be in Chicago. Still can't believe I'm seeing you, which is great. So,
Guys, look at those eyes. Look into these eyes. They're just shining in pure love. Tell us about actually, let me just introduce you. You're an author, you're a speaker. You're the author of The Origins of Truth.
yes.
And you're coming up with another book soon.
Yes, to be named.
To be named.
Yes.
You speak a lot about the power of love. Can you tell us what that inspires you just hearing that?
Everything we do, everything we think, everything we say goes back to love. How we feel about love, whether it's loving ourselves or what we choose to do, or why we choose to do it. So I think that if we overlook that fact because it seems like something we can put on the shelf for now to do what we have to do, we've literally overlooked our own lives while we're living them. And it's like you postpone how you will feel about anything until you make enough money, or you get what it is you think you need, or you have that child, or have that man, or whatever it is you think you need. And you stop it from happening by not paying attention to the love in your heart. And then a few years later, you wake up and say, why did I do that? I really wanted to do this all along. And you're forced to go back and pay attention to and respect how love runs in your life and how it feels to feel it.
So does love talk to us? Does love has ways to communicate to us?
I believe it does. It communicates with us with our heart beating faster, with us getting excited. It tells us in a gut feeling that sometimes we ignore because the outcome that we want isn't the outcome it's telling us is ours. And so we want it bigger or grander or different. Mm-hmm. And it's telling us all the time. Now, if we don't listen, we start feeling like we're far away from ourselves. We start feeling like we're lost. We start feeling like we don't know who we are anymore. And as silly as that may sound, to say, oh, I don't know who I am and I've lived with myself all of my life, it's become a common term. It's something that if one person says, everybody understands it, because we're all in that boat of being forced to do things that we don't really love over things we love. And our talent goes numb and our feelings feel stagnant. Mm-hmm. And we feel tired or stressed or depressed. And we say, why am I depressed? And I really believe, and I know, that if you don't pay attention to the love that you have, then nothing else in your life will be paid attention to the same.
When did you get yourself really clear about that? Because I know you're Muslim originally, and you were praying every day, many times a day. And is that in that moment when you finally spoke to God directly that you realized that?
I did. It happened a couple times in my life for me to even recognize how much self-love was important. Yeah. Because we have been taught over and over again that loving yourself is very selfish, because we equated loving yourself with the way ego loves us. Mm-hmm. By buying myself the right things, going to the spa, having whatever it is I thought I needed to make myself from the outside better to the world. And I was trying to do that. I, was 17 and I was learning to pray, and I wanted to be close to God because to me that was love. And I really wasn't raised as a Muslim. I was Muslim and lived culturally, but the religion itself I was not schooled in. So I did start praying the 5 times a day because I thought that would make me good and better. Mm-hmm. And happier and maybe more clear about what this love that I feel in my heart would even mean to me. And I remember rushing home from work and not having prayed all 5 prayers and feeling pressure that I have to still pray these prayers and do my homework and then wake up tomorrow and do it all over again, and feeling like I'm chasing my tail. Like my life, what does it matter if I'm just repeating myself every day? I don't have the time to get to the love I was looking for from that. Mm-hmm. From the prayer that I thought that's what everybody does to get what they love. So that night, after doing the 5th prayer, mm-hmm. and repeating myself 5 times, it took me about an hour and some time to do. I sat on the ground and I took my scarf off and I was just like I am right now and said, I know, God, you don't want us to do this. I don't feel anything. I just did this. And I repeated it because I was in fear that if I didn't do this, I wouldn't be good or something bad would happen to me. And all of a sudden I'm contrived and I wasn't before I tried to do this. This can't be the way to you. I felt better about you before I even did this. And I felt free and I felt less pressure. And when I said all of that, I remember this warm feeling like, it's okay, all right, you figured that out. You carry this love already. You feel good already. You don't need to get it from the outside in, even love. And I realized that I had to accept things in myself before I could ever accept anything else outside of me. Otherwise, everything outside of me was going to run my life. And it was running my life.
So what happened from that point forward?
I felt freer to walk away from that without the guilt that gets attached to it for not doing it. And realize that we created guilt. And we created fear. We created the doubt and the worry that we carry. We didn't come with that. When I was a baby, I didn't feel any of that. That was taught to me. And I really had to separate what's me and what we put there. Love is already there. It's one thing to say, it's another thing to believe. Because when you believe it, you are unable to let yourself down. You are unable to stop yourself from rising to it instead of dragging its light down to dim it to what you believe it is.
Tell us about how you find out how your love is really pure, because you talk a lot about that too. Really knowing that, I mean, it can guide your life, but you have to make sure like it's authentic and pure. How did you know that?
There's something I was told, and it was that 1 ounce of pure love or pure intent will overcome any obstacle, provided that it's pure. So then I thought, how do I know if my intentions are pure? I always thought they were. Well, what does that even mean? What is pure intent? So then I find myself in a position, and I found out what pure intent was. I was older, and it was when email started. And I liked somebody. So that person I liked, we went out on like 1 date and then we never saw each other again. But we started emailing. And I really thought that I liked this man. And about a year into us emailing, I got hit by a car crossing the street while I was at work. And I was out of work for 2 weeks, needless to say, because of that. And I was driving back to work that day. And I thought to myself, oh, I need to tell him what happened. And I found myself embellishing the story. Now, I almost got killed. But something in me was so insecure about who I am that I didn't believe I could be loved without my story being bigger than it was. I even overlooked me dying. And I caught myself, I still remember driving up that driveway at work and parking my car and sitting there. And I said, you know, God, if this man doesn't come to me with pure intent from his heart, I don't care how bad I think I want him or want this, don't give it to me. I don't want someone to want me for something I created. I want to be wanted for who I am. And that's one of the first times I felt like I stood by myself and really believed in my heart that I was already okay. That having whoever it wasn't going to change me. And it turned around how I even feel about people or men or women. I started looking at people differently, that everyone is a soul, whether it comes to me as a child or a man or a woman, and that the love is the same, but the relationships are different. Someone you choose to live your life with forever, some your kids are born to you, it's, you know, the relationship is different, your friends, your family, your parents. Pure love is pure love. It never changes. It just acts differently when we need to act differently with different people.
So that changed everything in how you were co-creating life. I mean, I guess, yeah, you follow now the signs, you follow the synchronicities, and you just open yourself up to whatever there is for you to do that day. Tell us about how you start the day and how you live your life now.
I start the day and plan what I believe I'm going to do that day. And usually within an hour, just planning it, writing it down, most of it is done. I learn to do what I don't want to do first so that I can enjoy the rest of my day. And I really let the days happen. If someone calls me, I pick up the call. If I need to go pick someone up, I do. If someone stops me in the street, I speak. I found that the more time that I have, the more time I'm given as well. If I need quiet time, I understand that about myself. I don't try to push that. And I end up doing the things that I usually would do when I'm quiet. I've learned to trust that whatever I feel, as long as I follow it, I'm more productive than I was making myself do things that I didn't feel like doing. It doesn't mean you put off working or any of that, but your mindset really has a difference in how your day will plan out. If you say to yourself, hey, I'm here today and this is what I'm doing and this is all I have to do now, no matter where you're at, and be present in that moment, you're able to give that moment more than you could have if you said, I don't really feel like being here today and I'm tired anyway and I stayed up till 2 o'clock in the morning and you know, my husband's mad at me or my kids aren't listening to me, and you could find a million reasons why you can take away the love, why you could take away the moments of that day. And in truth, you're not postponing them, you're missing them. And if you miss them today, the habit of missing them is really the bigger problem. Not that you just were going to wait until you were more awake. How many days are we going to sleep as many hours as we want? How many days are we going to get to do just whatever we think we want? That's not reality. And I think that feeling pure love, and I mean pure love by trusting myself and listening, being pure to myself in that respect, has given me the balance between just the spirit and the working world and reality. Because sometimes we say, oh, well, if you're spiritual or whatever, you're all the way over here. No money, no this, no that. And if you're working, you're all the way over here because you have to shut out your feelings. But I think we're working towards a common ground of combining the two, because the two together are what is powerful.
Balance.
Not the one alone or the other. You can't do any of one thing. Even chocolate cake, if you ate it enough, you wouldn't want it anymore.
You would think so.
You would think so. So you crave it again, and believe me, you will. But there is magic that happens when you trust what you feel enough to act on it. And the minute you doubt yourself, everything else around you is doubted. And you'll be in great company when you say, you know, I wanted to do this, but I was scared. Oh yeah, I wanted to do it too, but I was scared. So, you know, you have this camaraderie with a lot of people, but everyone wants to see the person who walked past scared, who walked through fear.
So how to believe again, how to shift when you've been for a long time in this kind of loop, or you just don't see the light at the end of the tunnel. How do you get back in what you're talking about?
To really sit quiet for as long as it takes you. And I don't mean sit quiet, go sit in a corner. Just disengage yourself as much as you can from your life and give yourself time alone enough to drain down all of the layers of everything that's coming at you. And really think about, if I could have the ideal life today, truly, what would that look like every day? Where would I be working? How long would I drive there? How much time do I really want to spend with my kids? Do I want to do something that I'm not doing now? And really look at it. feel it. Let yourself experience it already so that once you can see yourself doing it, you have that path. It's already been burned in your brain. The only time you really can't go forward is when you haven't given yourself the time to see. And if you can't see, you have to ask yourself why you're not willing to sit long enough to see. Because these are questions we have to ask ourselves. We're accountable to us. Nobody else can do that for us. If we don't take care of who we are and we meet people in our lives, we take that pressure and put it on them to tell us who we are. And they're trying to figure out who they are. No one can do that for us except ourselves. You really have to ask yourself, if I were taken and put in another country where nobody knew me, how would I describe myself? What do I love? What do I want to do with the rest of my life, instead of letting the rest of your life tell you that today is all you're going to do? It's a trap. And we don't have to be in it. And the more of us that wake up to that, the more of us that are allowed to live in our talent instead of what we believe we have to do, otherwise everything else in our lives will fall apart when we're not enjoying any of it anyway.
Do you have yourself moments of doubts and fear, and how do you get back in the flow, or how do you reopen your heart? Or are you just constantly in this space of love?
That's a good question, because I have been asking myself this, because I tried to ask myself, wow, when was the last time something scared me? And I don't know what to say anymore. 2 years ago, I probably had a longer list than I do today. But I thought, what's the worst thing that could happen to me? I could die. Whoa. Then what? Then I won't be able to do this. So while I'm here, I want to do something with my time that makes me feel alive, because I am alive. When I die, I could be dead. But I don't want to be alive and dead at the same time. That's not a great combination. And we're realizing that. And we're all speaking as we are now to tell each other that, to wake somebody up that's just sitting there maybe listening and going, oh my God, I felt that too. It wasn't easy to face myself and look at what I didn't like about myself. Trying to embellish a story when my own life was at stake because I didn't feel that good about myself to think that I could be loved for who I am. That was a very subtle but sobering moment. Stop it from happening by not paying attention to the love in your heart. And then a few years later, you wake up and say, why did I do that? I really wanted to do this all along. And you're forced to go back and pay attention to and respect how love runs in your life and how it feels to feel it.
So does love talk to us? Does love have ways to communicate to us?
I believe it does. It communicates with us with our heart beating faster, with us getting excited. It tells us in a gut feeling that sometimes we ignore because the outcome that we want, everything we do, everything we think, everything we say goes back to love. How we feel about love, whether it's loving ourselves or what we choose to do or why we choose to do it. So I think that if we overlook that fact because it seems like something we can put on the shelf for now to do what we have to do, we've literally overlooked our own lives while we're living them. And it's like you postpone how you will feel about anything until you make enough money or you get what it is you think you need or you have that child or have that man or whatever it is you think you need. And you...
Hello, Nadia.
Hi, Lilu. How are you?
Good to have you in Chicago.
I'm happy to be in Chicago. Still can't believe I'm seeing you, which is great. So,
guys, look at those eyes. Look into these eyes. They're just shining in pure love. Tell us about well, actually, let me just introduce you. You're an author, you're a speaker. You're the author of The Origins of Truth.
yes.
And you're coming up with another book soon.
Yes, to be named.
To be named.
Yes.
You speak a lot about the power of love. Can you tell us what that inspires you just hearing that?
over things we love, and our talent goes numb, and our feelings feel stagnant, and we feel tired or stressed or depressed, and we say, why am I depressed? And I really believe, and I know, that if you don't pay attention to the love that you have, then nothing else in your life will be paid attention to the same.
When did you get yourself really clear about that? Because I know you had you're Muslim originally, and you were praying every day, many times a day. And is that in that moment when you finally spoke to God directly?
Isn't the outcome it's telling us is ours? And so we want it bigger or grander or different. And it's telling us all the time. Now, if we don't listen, we start feeling like we're far away from ourselves. We start feeling like we're lost. We start feeling like we don't know who we are anymore. And as silly as that may sound to say, oh, I don't know who I am, and I've lived with myself all of my life, it's become a common term. It's something that if one person says, everybody understands it, because we're all in that boat of being forced to do things that we don't really love.